Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Chat Network, your first stop for pop culture talk. I'm your host, Niko, and joined with me today, as always, my co-host, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, not too bad. How are you?
Oh, as I was telling you prior to recording, just trying to survive this freaking heat wave we're going through here at the moment. That's yet to break. So if I start melting during this recording, my apologies. I got a fan directly in front of me at the moment, so hopefully I don't sweat through my 5 t-shirts like I normally do when I'm hot. So let's get this thing up and running here, guys. So make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to check out some of the other content here on the YouTube channel, different playlists. Uh, you know, Today we're going to be talking about the new comics that came out for the week of June 18th, 2025. And as always, spoiler warning, if you're worried about getting spoiled on these books, you can always read your books and then come back and then check us out and check out the playlist here. 184 episodes strong. We're on our way to 200, Chris. We're going to hit that big 200th episode this year before the year's end. So that's really exciting. Yeah, that's a big milestone right there. So yeah, this is our weekly comic book review show, and make sure to check it out and like and subscribe as always. Also, we will be recording a new episode of new comic book solicitations for September of 2025. So if you check back in the feed, you'll also be able to see that video this week come out shortly after this one. So those just kind of go in the same playlist. Make sure to check that out. That's basically what we used to do on this show as like an extra segment, where me and Chris go over the upcoming comics, the new comics that are going to be coming out in September, and let you know kind of what we're looking forward to picking up. So some exciting books there, including a new piece of comic news we'll get into later about some of those new released books. So make sure to stick around for that. But yeah, that should about do it there, Chris.
All right. Let's talk comics.
Talk some comics. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh boy, that feels good. In the heat, it's nice to have a beer, that's for sure. All right, guys, here we go. First up on the docket here today. Oh, I didn't even put these comics in order. All right, I'll be rooting a bit here. Aliens versus Avengers #4, the conclusion of this mini series.
Got my issue here. Big $7.99 price tag, or even more. I don't know.
Absolutely worth it, though.
Definitely.
But yeah, Chris, what'd you think of this one?
I was hoping by the time this since it's the last issue, I was hoping all the players would have been on the board already, and just kind of have the epic battle at the end. But there's still some more story to be told, it seemed. I think they had a lot of stuff about what happened to the Wakandan Empire and how they got kind of torched by the aliens there. But the big story is with Mr. Sinister and what he's doing with the aliens. And it looks like he's kind of spliced some of his DNA in there. And what happens when he does that was summoning the sea. And I kind of liked when I guess it turned into like a red alien almost, and then it just wiped out all the Sinisters, and that became the Alpha. And then the story goes from there. Then we're into the action, because now you know who the big bad is and how bad they are, and you know who's left and what's on the table, and they duke it out. And it was kind of surprising how they got through it all. So I don't know if you want to talk about that or not, but it's good to see. It was fun to watch, fun to read.
Hey, we've given the spoiler warning, so I mean, we could get into it here. If anybody does not want to be spoiled about what occurred here, then skip ahead or be forewarned here. But yeah, basically that we knew it was going to come back around. Something was going to happen with the symbiote, the alien that was on Miles Morales' chest, essentially the symbiote, and that's what ended up happening. The symbiote took over this sinister alien, this ultimate alien that Sinister ended up creating with, I'm sure, his DNA and the alien's DNA, it looks like, which made it an even more superior being. But the craziest part about the whole thing is that he spliced mutant DNA in it as a result, and the thing has like all of the powers of different X-Men. It can like bamf like Nightcrawler. It has like Wolverine kind of seems like slicing ability of some sort, like with the claws. What else did it have? I think did it have the Cyclops beam? I can't remember. It had all these different powers of the X-Men, though, essentially.
Yeah.
Oh, it had phasing power. Like I think it had phasing powers like Kitty Pryde, if I'm not mistaken, right? There was a moment where it seemed like he pulled some move like that.
I thought I saw something there.
But yeah, he just basically had a bunch of powers of X-Men, and so yeah, he was crazy powerful. And I guess it took a symbiote to take over this new alien in order to take control and put a stop to what was going on here, or else they were just going to be overrun by these aliens.
Got a venomized alien there for a bit.
Yeah. So that was pretty awesome. I mean, we knew it was going to come back around. We had called that originally when that happened, but I thought it was going to be much worse and he was going to end up getting killed by it or something, Miles. But it turns out it was the Deus Ex Machina, like the thing that basically saved the day that was kind of in play the whole time. And yeah, I just thought it was a great ending. Like you said, there could be more. Maybe there is more planned. I don't know, but the way they ended it, they did definitely leave it open for it. Because I honestly thought it was going to be the way it was trending. It seemed like it was going to be a much more tragic ending, and that no one was going to survive.
Yeah.
Or nothing. Like, and that almost was the case, right? I mean, in this issue, like you said, they kind of go into Wakanda. And how always like Wakanda is one step ahead of everybody else, but they're really just looking out for themselves in a sense, their people. And then they created all these different, I guess, planets that they had taken over, and then, but yeah, but then the aliens essentially reached them and took almost all everybody out there until Black Panther, he showed up here with the rest of the heroes that were alive at the end, and kind of, and was able to help out in some way. But yeah. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I just thought this was a wonderful miniseries. All in all, I feel like it stuck the landing, left us wanting more in a sense. I thought the art was excellent throughout. This was way better than it had any right to be on multiple levels, and it delivered every issue for me. Yeah, Chris, I don't know anything else you want.
Yeah, I got nothing else to add to that. Like I say, when this was first coming out, or read it in the solicitations, I've seen these crossovers before. Nothing ever special about them or fancy, but once I read that first issue, I was hooked, and I had to go to the store and buy this thing right away. And I was happy I did. And like I say, I think they kept the momentum up throughout the whole series. I'm glad it's only 4 issues. They're not trying to rope us in for too much for too long. And I think it was a perfect time. Even though a few of the issues took a bit of time to come out, it's still well worth the wait.
Yeah, like I feel like we've been giving Marvel a lot of grief lately just because their hit rate hasn't been as high as we want it to be, or where it's at in terms of like just some, quality across the line for their books. Because I think overall, I'm pretty certain we read a little bit more DC these days. There's a lot of Marvel stuff we've tried and kind of dropped. But, between things like Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell, the Spider-Man series with Kari Andrews, Spider-Man Wolverine, like there is some good things coming out right now. There is some really well-drawn books and fun things coming out from them. And it seems to be majority of like the miniseries that are kind of helmed by like big name creators, right? So I guess there's something to that, because a lot of their ongoing series are like the things that they kind of put out in their monthly solicitations aren't really, I feel like, what's really interesting us as much these days.
Well, it wasn't too long ago. DC was in the same boat. We only enjoyed all the DC Elseworld stuff. And, Batman wasn't running, Superman wasn't running. There's no absolute universe. So I guess they all kind of ebb and flow, and it seems that Marvel's more in an ebbing state, and DC is sort of flowing right now.
Yeah, like we've said before, like the pendulum swings back and forth. Like it's all cyclical. It comes back around, at some point, right? But some great scenes in this, though. Like the whole Captain Marvel basically committing suicide and destroying all of the aliens except for the red one in one foul swoop. I thought she basically just went nuclear there. That was crazy. Yeah, some really cool moments. And this red alien, the sinister alien, was insane looking. Yeah. I mean, it was just basically a huger, like bigger alien that was red and juiced up, kind of. But it definitely made an impression. I felt like in these scenes, right? So, Tony Stark's kind of last stand as well. And there's the symbiote Spider-Man, right? Sorry, symbiote alien, essentially, right there. So good stuff. I all in all, I think if you guys missed out on this, some of the issues I know, especially the first one, are pricey now to go out and try to find. So maybe just pick up the trade. I don't know why this hasn't come out. This isn't coming out first in a like they basically do these like gallery size edition, like the larger edition kind of paperbacks now. I feel like this one's deserved of it. Maybe because I think they're only the regular size paperback is coming out first. Maybe they have plans to put out a larger format one down the line and make a sucker like me buy it twice, because this is definitely something I need to add to the shelf as well. So I'm glad I got the issues though. But yeah, good stuff. And with these the makers or whatever the hell their names are, I forgot. Not the makers. That was like Hickman's
engineers or something.
Engineers, yeah, the things from like Promethea or whatever, the other Aliens movie. The things that apparently like created this or that were it or whatever. Yeah, that's they are kind of in the mix still at the end, kind of like kind of seeing things from afar, overseeing things, right? Like they kind of put all this into play, but that if they wanted to continue to do more, it's the possibility is there. I just hope, honestly, I feel like if they did another crossover though, I really would hope that this team would come back. I think if they put another team on it, it just wouldn't be the same. Quite honestly, I think Hickman's got a really good handle on the both properties. You know what I mean? So I would rather that than see them attempt to just bring it back with like another person, like Ben.
Yeah, or if they did come back with another person, at least have a story to tell, not just we got to do this now because the first one was so successful.
That's true. That's true. What'd you give this, Chris?
I'll give it a 4.25, and I'd give the series probably a 4.5.
I'll give this issue a 4.5 out of 5, and I'd give the series, honestly, a 5. I think the series is a slam dunk. I have no complaints about it. Yeah, I give it a 5. This is a 5. Go out and buy this trade, kind of 5-star review on this one. It's worth it. But yeah, for the ending though, instead of the 5, I think we gave the first issue a 5. I would give this probably 4.5. Overall 5 though. I think it just started out much stronger than it ended. Not to say the ending was bad in any way. It was just like you said, I feel like they left it a little bit open-ended. I would have given it a 5 if it was going in the direction that I thought it was, and like they all get fucking wiped out. You know what I mean? Like as warm as that sounds, I really would have liked that, because that's kind of where it looked like it was going. And then they kind of pulled a swerve right at the end. You're like, hey, they're the heroes. They got to win, right? And I'm like, nah, not really. They didn't look like they were going to win. Should have just kept going that route.
Yeah, they could have wiped them out. There could be some sort of freaking offshoot. You could have the Guardians of the Galaxy still floating out there, on their own. And who knows, they could pick up the Hulk from Earth still. He could be out there still fighting them. You don't actually see them die. You just kind of see them leave.
Yeah. A lot of them got wiped out, though. They did. A lot of them did get killed here. All right. Next up, we got Emma Frost, the White Queen, #1. Got a couple of covers here. I think I got the same ones as you.
Well, I kind of bought this one blind here. I got I think it's the Joshua Swaby.
Yeah. It's not my favorite. It's okay.
That's okay. I bought this one blind.
Same. And then I got the David Nakayama cover as well with this. I actually prefer the David Nakayama cover to the Joshua Swaby. She's fancy looking in this though, but yeah, I kind of prefer this one over that. It's just one's a little bit too kind of realistic looking for me. Kind of, I don't know. There's something about it. I'm not 100% in love with it. But anyway, what'd you think of this, Chris?
I was hoping for more out of the series. It was a fun story. They kind of bring back the classic X-Men team in there, so they're fun to see. But I think they could have freaking got a better artist for this. It started out with a bang in that first page. I remember seeing the previews. Okay, let's go. And then I don't know. I think I'll just stall through there. I think it's the same problem they had with Psylocke, Magic, all the other kind of one-offs that they're going through. It's they got to come here with a story to tell if you're going to put all this stuff out.
I thought it wasn't bad. I didn't actually mind the artist. I thought the artist did well on some pages. Actually, who's the artist? What's the artist's name on this? I am not familiar with the artist though, to be fair. But I Andrea. Oh no, I think I've seen this artist and stuff. Andrea DeVito and this Amy Chu wrote this. I liked it. I mean, I like that it's just so telling to me, though, that they keep doing these miniseries and these are taking place in past timelines because the timelines currently suck of the characters. So, like, they're like, let's revisit Emma during the time when she was actually the White Queen and part of the Hellfire Club and was a villain. And that's kind of, I like that. I like that this is a period that this is taking place in. But again, it kind of, it kind of speaks to how the comics currently suck, the X-Men comics, because she's like running a team of teenagers or something. So like, I don't know. This is cool. This was cool though. I thought she looked good in this. I thought the art wasn't bad. But yeah, basically there's some mutant, revolutionary type of mutant that basically, crashes the party, the Hellfire Club, and then basically the X-Men come to save him and rescue him and get him out of there. And because I guess they think that he's like being held prisoner, and then I guess they get away with this young mutant, if I'm not mistaken, by the end of it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. They crash the party, and she's got adamantium nails in this, so there's some fun scenes, but nothing that blew me away either.
Yeah.
Be told, but I'll enjoy getting these covers. There's some good ones coming up, so I'll be enjoying getting those at least. But yeah. Oh yeah, and then Sebastian Shaw called in at the end there. Looks like these guys are in trouble. What'd you give this?
Yeah, it's gonna be a 3.5 for me.
Yeah, I'll agree. 3.5 out of 5. Next up, Bring on the Bad Guys, Doom #1. Did you pick this up?
Well, I wasn't planning on it, but you had a copy at my LCS, and I go, oh, what the heck? It's a nice cover.
Mm-hmm.
And, Doom's always popular, so thought I'd give it I was planning on reading it anyways. And yeah, this starts out nice. I always like when the comics start with a big splash page to set the tone. And I'm not sure when this is sort of taking place, but it's telling the story of these 5 sort of artifacts. It's almost like the Infinity Gauntlet. There's these 5 daggers or something that have the souls of these, people that do the dark magic or something. Kind of like when they're
something. Yeah,
when they're kind of listing them. Like they're sort of represented by, there's like a evil. I don't know if they're evil, but someone that was wise in the ways of the Wakandan dark arts. I think somebody from Iron Fist
area, someone from Latveria.
Yeah.
And
then I guess the thing was to introduce this new character. Was it the Sister of Sorrows or something?
Yeah.
They had some good banter or some good dialogue between them, because they both seemed to think that they were both all powerful, and it revealed that one of those masters of the dark arts that kind of was trying to remain nameless in the beginning, he turns out to be Mephisto, so it's good to see him in the mix. And that the Sister Sorrow is some sort of avatar of Mephisto on Earth, or is like serving him. So I guess that's how it's going to tie all these I think they're weekly issues together. So I didn't mind it. It was okay.
I actually thought this was really good. Actually, I read this on a whim. I wasn't planning on reading. I knew these were a bunch of one shots that was going to have a continuous story, but I was like, I wasn't planning on reading it, but I was like, oh, the first one's Doom. Okay, I'll give it a look because it's Doom. I thought this was actually really good. I thought it was a good depiction of Doom. I thought the art was great on this. I thought it really fit the tone of the book. I thought this was great. I actually might read the next one. I mean, I'm reading these digitally, mind you. I didn't pick it up, but yeah, good stuff. I actually quite like this story so far. And I mean, you know, I don't know. It's not to say that it's going to continue to be good, but with different villains, I guess on the next one shot, maybe it'll be fun. I don't know. This was a surprise. Mephisto's in the mix. I was, this is one of those things where I just, you know, gave it a shot and it kind of hit above what I was expecting it to kind of in terms of delivering for me. I really like the art, I was really surprised by that, probably the most, but you know, it's hard to mess up Doom, honestly. Like for me, I think that this was just as good as any other Doom that I've read. Really, I think he was really good at it.
I always worry though when they do these things right before, you know, like a movie or something, that they're just trying to push stuff out there. But
Sure.
you know, at least with the Doom stuff, it's, you know, like I said, we talked about it before, and you know, I'm on board with some of it.
The question is, though, like, how big of a part is he going to play throughout this story? Because the next one is like whatever bad guy, bring on the bad guys, whatever character, right? So, like, if he's kind of out of the picture now, and I don't know, like, if that's the case here, but and if not, whatever, this will be probably my only one I read, but we'll see with the next one. But the way they ended it, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm actually kind of interested to see what happens here.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think I'll be buying anymore, but I'll definitely be reading them. And I think they all come together at the end for, I guess, some sort of battle.
Yeah. What'd you give this?
I give it 3.75.
You know what? I'm going to give this a 4. I was very surprised by this. But again, really liked the art. Take a flip through this if you guys maybe passed on this. But, you know, if you don't want to buy in because it's like an ongoing one-shot story, I get that too. Because I just read it digitally, so I was okay with that one. So, all right, Chris, Bug Wars number 5.
Bug Ward 5. So I guess we're following our hero. I think our whatever the kid with the amulet. He's there talking to he's in that spider land up in the hanging pots or whatever. And I think the spider witches were supposed to try and tell him some truth, but they're not going to give away any of his story. Like, you know, the answers have to be earned. And then outside in the yard, all the other bug tribes are sort of banding together, but they're bickering among each other as they try and get the guy who cuts the grass, his brother Sidney.
Yeah.
And I guess with I forget what the kid's name is. To find his truth, I know those spider witches kind of send him to some path, and then he's kind of just moping around in there. And somehow his dad shows up or something, and then, you know, his dad saves him from one of I guess the Spider King or something, and then he turns him into like another power upgrade for the kid there, as all the other bug tribes are going to start to try and attack his brother. It's moving along. I think it's coming to its end. It's just 6 issues, right?
Yeah, next issue's the last one.
Yeah, so I think it's a good time for this. You know, it was a fun story, but I don't want to see this stretched out too much. And I'd give this 3.75.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get caught up because I meant to read this, but didn't get a chance. Wow. Mahmoud is really killing it on this series, though. I gotta say, he's did a really great job on the art on this one. But yeah, looking forward to catching up for the last issue here. Is this his father?
Yeah.
Okay.
So who knows? Maybe he's been trapped in the bug world somewhere.
Yeah, because he just disappeared or something. Remember they said that? They thought, yeah. This guy's a dick, though. This guy, his brother is just like really hated on those bugs.
Well, I think in the story there, like the police came in because his mother's freaking out, and you know the police are just telling him, "Oh, I think your son just ran away," and she's like, "No, something happened to him," and then the brother was freaking out, and then, you know, the mother's like, "Go outside and cool off," and then he was just kind of stomping around just because he was angry. He goes, "Oh, I'm gonna go crush all these bugs."
Okay.
And then, you know, then that's when he started up the lawnmower because he thinks the bugs had something to do with this.
Right. All right. Next up, I got a few here. Godzilla Vs Avengers number 1. I got 2 covers. I got the Nick Bradshaw cover here. These have all been great. These monster homage covers that he did. And then I got a Mike Allred cover for this one. Oh, there we go. Which I quite like. So yeah, you know what? I think this is the last one of the one shots that they had announced, if I'm not mistaken, for this before they do, I guess, the Jerry Duggan miniseries with Godzilla versus Marvel Universe. But I gotta say, overall, these were all really fun. I don't really regret buying into these. I got some really cool Bradshaw covers out of this as well, and I liked these. And yeah, I can 100% confirm now what I had heard is the case, because now I think we're in the 2000s. And you look, there's Maria Hill, and this is basically the Bendis Avengers era here that this writer's writing, which is David Walker, who wrote this one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And, he actually is a friend of Bendis, so I'm sure this is kind of, why he wanted to go ahead and do this. Yeah, David Walker, George Genti on art. This was fun. This basically captured the new Avenger era of Bendis when like everybody was an Avenger. Like Wolverine was an Avenger, Spider-Man was an Avenger, Luke Cage was an Avenger. Basically anybody Bendis really wanted to write. I think Daredevil was an Avenger at a short period of time. I know some people didn't like that because like it kind of it made it less important in a way, right? But it was just fun to see him. Spider-Woman was one of the main Avenger team. And this is like specifically, I think, the new Avengers team, because he was writing a book, Avengers book and a new Avengers book. And this was like the new Avengers book, which was like Wolverine and Spider-Man. And that this is where you kind of found the Thing was on this, although I don't think he was in this issue. But yeah, you get all the little talking head moments and like the Bendis-y dialogue. This is definitely taking place during that period of time. This is like for the one time I was really able to recognize, because I read these comics. Like I'm like, oh, okay, this is the era that they're going for here. And yeah, this is Godzilla versus Fin Fang Foom. What's not to enjoy? It's fun. It's a fun time with the Avengers versus the Godzilla. As I mentioned in all the other ones, by the end, something happens and he kind of slinks back into the water as he does and disappears. And there you go. I mean, you got a little fun issue with Godzilla versus Fin Fang Foom. And the part that was fun in this is that there's a moment where Godzilla is fighting Fin Fang Foom. Oh, yeah. And then this guy shows up, too. Not what's his name? He's not that other book that they're doing right now. Ultraman. He's the guy that looks like Ultraman, but he's like one of the kaiju type guys. I forget his name. Leopard. No, not Leopard. What the hell is his name? I'm not going to remember it now. I can't. I'll have to look it up. But basically, he's Jaguar, or something. His name is. I'll look it up after when we're talking about it in their book. Jet Jaguar. That's his name. So I think he's from like those Godzilla movies as well. So, or like one of those like Japanese kind of characters. So he shows up in this as well. But the really fun thing in this is that while he's fighting Fin Fang Foom at one point, he basically just bitch slaps him with his tail, Godzilla, and like Fin Fang Foom just like falls down. He's like, there's the real king of the monsters. You know what I mean? It was pretty awesome. Like I was just like, yeah. He's like, get the fuck out of here, Fin Fang Foom's like Marvel's excuse for a kaiju. You know what I mean? I really felt that moment. I'm like, well, that's hilarious. So he just whoops all these guys' ass, and then I think, in this one, I forgot what the reasoning as to why he went away was, but it was almost as if he got bored because he just whooped everybody's ass and just like slinked back into the water. So it was fun. I liked these one shots. They didn't take themselves too seriously. He had different artists on each issue and writers. It was fun. I think overall these were successful. I'll give this one 3.75 out of 5. And overall, I would say this whole bunch of one shots, I think they're going to collect it as a trade paperback. Probably the same 3.75, honestly, verging into 4 though, especially if you have like a lot of knowledge of the Godzilla stuff and the Marvel universe. I don't really have as much knowledge about the Godzilla stuff. I think you'll get a lot out of this because it seems like they really combined both properties well, just like they kind of, like I was saying, they did with the Aliens versus Avengers, but not as good as that. But I do know more about the alien stuff than I do the Godzilla stuff, so maybe I'm missing out on some of the references here, but different eras of Godzilla as well with Marvel, which is really cool. So And then next up, we got Absolute Flash number 4. Yeah, this one had a different artist on it, unfortunately, than the first 3 issues. I didn't like this artist as much. But yeah, I got my issue right here. This guy's name is Kaplan is the last name. I'm not familiar with this artist, but I hope this isn't like a long-term thing, because I mean, we can't even get the consistent artist for 3 issues, it seems like. Anyways, I didn't like this artist as much, so that's going to impact the score a little bit for me. Also, like where we last left off, he finally got away from from the scientists and stuff like that, and where his father worked. And they were after him with some of the rogues, Star Labs or whatever. And, in this one, at the end of that one, Gorilla Grodd, which was like one of their experiments, they kind of got to, instead of like taking him down, he actually joined him because they kind of felt like some sort of kinship, because they were both experimented on, I guess, or like messed with by Star Labs. So they kind of, he follows him, right? But I guess what he doesn't know, and what Gorilla Grodd doesn't know from what I got from this, like, I think he isn't aware of it either. They're basically tracking Gorilla Grodd. They're able to track him, so they're able to track where he is. So they kind of get an idea of where he is in this issue. And by the end of the issue, one of the rogues shows up, and that's kind of where the issue ends. But like, his father really takes a stand against it, because he's like, this is my son, like, what are you doing, like, going after him, and we need to figure out, and I need to come down there with you when you guys find him, and I need to bring him back home. And they're like, yeah, you don't understand, like, Wally now has this power. He's the only successful person to have kind of gone through this. Barry Allen, clearly, because he got killed as a result of all this, is not able to hold on to this power, and Wally is. So this is basically, we're gonna get your kid and we're gonna run tests on him, and he's kind of against all this, even though he works for them, and that's kind of where we're going with this right now. But overall, though, maybe my least favorite issue, not to say it was terrible, but with the art change and some the way that the story progressed a little bit in this, it was a quick read, this one. So I'll give this a 3.5 out of 5 this week. I'm still liking the series overall, but we'll see where we're headed now. Heat Wave is up next with the Rogues, like track them down there at the end. And West Coast Avengers number 8. Chris, I know you just missed out on reading this one, because we usually check this one out. An all right issue. I don't think too much happened, honestly. I don't think you missed out on too much on this. Where we last left off, it was the whole thing with the evil Ultron. Now, comparison to the good Ultron, I guess that's on the team, which is just surprising to say. But he's kind of out there doing his thing, and they're fighting him now. And the other guy, I forget his name. The dude that's got the lightning powers, that's stuck in the prison right now.
Yeah, the new Wonder Man.
Pretty much, yeah, Wonder Man, exactly. Somebody tries to kill him in prison in this issue. Oh yeah, it's the Nazi Captain America, Flag Smasher. Yeah. So they basically send a message out to Flag Smasher to basically take this guy out in prison. And you see an attempt made on killing him here in this issue, I believe. And not successful, but he basically, when the Avengers start getting attacked, he tries to make a break for it out of prison, essentially, to go and help them, because he is in prison and unable to just like be released anytime he wants, right? So he's like on a work release type program thing. So that's, this kind of just moved the needle a little bit more, like through the we moved the plot a little bit forward, let's say, in terms of like the story that they've been telling. So nothing huge happened in this one. Basically Flag Smasher threatens to kill his father on the outside, though, who we just met that last issue. That's the other thing that happened. And we'll see how the things go here. And he wants to help out the Avengers. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure that guy's gonna get killed, if I'm not mistaken, just because he's not a big character. And I think it'll do interesting things for the storyline right now, but I don't know if he's too long for this world, this new character. We'll see. Yeah, but I still give this a 3.75. I'm enjoying this series. Then you got Detective Comics 1098. I got this cover, the Bruno, I think it's a Bruno Redondo variant. I quite like. Yeah, so this is still good. You know what? I gotta say, the Tom Taylor, though, the best thing about this comic was that because at the end of the last issue, you found out that he tracked down Penguin, even though he was after Harvey Bullock, because he was tracking down Elixir. Basically, took him prisoner after he was He was looking into their organization, and he ends up finding Penguin in the back of the truck instead of Bullock. Well, in this one, essentially Penguin, because he's there instead of Bullock, he forces him, because he doesn't want to leave him now, because he should be going to prison. Going back to prison, he makes him come with him, and it's almost like a Batman Penguin forced team up of sorts. And I gotta tell you, Tom Taylor is just great with dialogue. There's a bunch of funny moments in this between Penguin and Batman. I really like the tone of this comic. I like that he's not shying away from some humor here and there amongst like the kind of more serious tone story that he's got here. And he basically does end up tracking down Bullock, but Bullock tries to take a stand against these guys, and it looks like he gets shot the hell up at the end of this issue, and I guess that's the cliffhanger we leave on. We'll see what happens next issue. But I think the best part about this, like I said, is the exchanges between Penguin and Batman. Penguin's like, there's a rumor going around that when you talk in your ear, because he sees him talking to Oracle, that you're just talking to yourself, because you're crazy, right? Like, and amongst all the other rogues, I guess he's like, there's a rumor going around that that's the case. So I liked that. And then like at one point he like deploys like some sort of device that he has, and the Penguin's like, so that's a new device you got there. I'll have to remember that for next time or whatever, like things like that. I was like, this is actually really fun seeing these two interact in this fashion. And I think Taylor's just really good at dialogue. So I'll give this 3.75 though, because I think the Elixir storyline's not as strong, but overall I'm still having a lot of fun with this story, with this series, let's say. But this Elixir Bullock thing, I don't know. It's getting a little long in the tooth, even like a few issues in here. If they wrap this up now, I'd be okay with that, because I think I'm looking forward to the next story already. Fantastic Four Fanfare number 2. The only thing I'll say about this is that the what do you call it? The one that's worth checking out of all these is the Hickman short story, which makes up the first short story of 3 in the issue. The rest of them aren't really worth your time personally. They're fine, but the Hickman one, seeing him come back to Fantastic Four, this was a little fun story that they told, I thought. Yeah, here we go. And yeah, I think this is Dustin Weaver on art, who he's collaborated with a bunch in the past. Basically, there's like some doohickey thing that Mr. Fantastic created, of course, that I guess once a year they're able to bring this stuff on TV to life and see them play out with them in some sort of scenario. So for whatever reason, they pick horror movie night as the movies that they want to watch, and then they bring the things on the screen to life in like some sort of scenario on the screen with the Fantastic Four. And all these basically serial killers from popular movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the guys from Hellraiser and all this stuff, like Jason, basically come to life, and you see them in the comic and see the Fantastic Four have to kind of play out these scenarios with taking down these bad guys, essentially. And then the little twist at the end is that somewhere out there, the zombie versions of the Fantastic Four, I guess the Ultimate Fantastic Four kind of world ones, like that were introduced, like the Marvel Zombies Fantastic Four version that Mark Miller created, they're seen sitting somewhere watching this play out on their TV. So it's kind of like a fun little kind of, breaking the fourth wall, or like making sense of the other characters in the world of Marvel, like different universe Marvel characters of versions of the Fantastic Four out there. So I thought that was kind of fun, and I think it was a fun idea of Hickman using all like these real kind of movie characters in it. Otherwise, yeah, these other 2 stories were just like basic Fantastic Four stories. They're not bad by any means. Mark Buckingham wrote and drew the last story here. This one here that kind of made it look like a classic throwback Fantastic Four story. They're fun. I give this a 3.5 out of 5, but nothing too crazy. Next up, Batman Robin Year One. These are just quick hit ones. Number 8. Not much to say on this. Another fine issue. Story's just okay. Art's great as always, like I said, with Chris Samnee. And if I got to say anything good about this, it kind of reminded me of Batman the Animated Series. Clayface was in this one. Yeah, so fun stuff. You know, I'll probably pick up the collection, but I've stopped buying this in issues now just because the story is fine. The story is okay. Mark Waid's writing this. I guess it takes place in more like the world's finest type of universe. It feels like it almost in tone. But overall, it's just been like, okay. I think Somni's still the highlight of this series. 3.5 out of 5. X-Men 18. Did I buy this one? Yeah, this is my final issue I've pre-ordered. Finally, we've reached that point. I got this Corin Howell magic variant with her in like a demon form. She kind of does some more cheesecakey demon type comic stuff that I've been seeing lately. This artist, she's not really known for doing like Marvel stuff, but she did these a variant cover. So I was like, oh, I'll order that. She does another book called Lilith, I think it's called. I think it comes from Vault Comics, if I'm not mistaken. If you come across that, check it out. It might be up your alley, Chris. It's actually some really good cheesecakey looking art. I actually would buy the comic myself, but at this point, I missed the first few issues. I might just pick up the collection. She's a really good artist. So when I saw that she was doing a variant cover, I picked this up. As far as the X-Men issue went, not good. It's still continuing this whole fight between this big monster and this new character with this that's kind of like a Cable-looking ripoff dude. And I don't care about anything that's going on in this. And I've completely checked out of this series. I read through this one. Nothing new to report. They're still fighting these guys that they've been fighting and fighting each other. And Stegman, once again, did not draw this. He draws almost every other issue, it seems like at this point. It's not
Seems like less than every other issue.
Yeah, like every third issue. And that's what I mean. It's not even consistent on that front. So nothing really new to report here, and honestly, I've dropped this, and I might even stop reading it until I hear something good is happening in here again. It's just boring to me. You know, I'll give this a 3.25, almost a 3, honestly, at this point. But it just might be my interest that's gone. But yeah, there you go. And then Avengers 27. Also kind of. Honestly, I don't know. McKay not doing it lately for me. The first issue of this whole thing with these Masters of Evil kind of bad guy story that's going on during One World Under Doom with some of like the lesser like C-list type of villains, I thought was great. I thought it started off really strong. With each issue I feel like that he's kind of been doing during this arc, I feel less and less interested in this one. This was just okay. I mean, Black Panther showed up and he's kind of teaming up with Captain America by the end of the last issue. They fight a bunch of these villains now that they're kind of showing their true colors and not actually helping them out in any way during this One World Under Doom, even though despite that, the fact that they thought they were going to in that first one, it was just fine. I don't know. Again, a 3.25 out of 5. I don't know. I just, between this and the X-Men, McKay didn't really do it for me this week. And kind of just some kind of phoned in boring ass issues, honestly. So also 3.25 territory. I thought the art had some good moments, and I thought again, I like the characters that are showing up in this, but I just felt like overall this story has been waning. My interest, honestly, it's not as good as the first one, the setup of this whole thing. So I'll give it again 3.25 area. All right, Chris, Superman Unlimited number 2.
Yeah, I just read this one online. Wasn't really interested in picking up another Superman title, but the story here, they're playing with some interesting threads there. I guess the world is now covered in kryptonite. Seems to be everywhere in the world, and where Superman kind of pushed that kryptonite asteroid, it dropped in, some made up city, and now this city seems to be like a world superpower because they have a whole stash of kryptonite to kind of, to sell to the world. And it seems like some villains here picked up some kryptonite weapons. And, Superman sort of tries to intervene in some sort of robbery. and then they switch to their kryptonite weapons, and I think he gets shot with a kryptonite bullet, and then they kind of switch to some, some kind of hand-to-hand weapons because they don't want to waste all their waste the bullets because they're very expensive. And you think Superman is in some sort of dire straits there, and then freaking he turns gold, and it seems now when he goes gold, it's like I think it's explained that his cells are basically just kind of, it's like a defense mechanism where he just kind of goes, he goes ultra for like 200 seconds, and then he'll be powerless after. So basically, he has like a minute and a half to try and kill all, or to not kill, but to subdue all the villains there, which it seems like he does, except for one villain that sort of steps back up, and I think he kind of bluffs her into submission. And so I think it's kind of an interesting twist to Superman. Everybody kind of complains that Superman is hard to write because he's too powerful. So this kind of levels his power, kind of tones down his power level or gives it some limits. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see what they do with that.
I don't know. I might have to reread this one. I think I read this at like the end of like my pile of comics this week, and maybe I was just burnt out on reading them at the time because I didn't really like this issue compared to the first one. I thought the first one was great. I was a little lost at times of this. Are they also showing you flashback stuff in this issue as well?
Yeah, I think after he kind of pushed that asteroid, he was stuck in the Justice Tower recovering. And that's where they kind of figured out that he has this sort of defense mechanism.
Yeah, so I was like a little lost, and I felt like where they left off the last issue and the way they jumped into this one, I kind of was lost. I felt like when I started reading this one, I kind of had a hard time finding my footing in this storyline. I again love the Raphael Albuquerque art. I think he looked great in this issue again. But I think this is the last issue I'm going to be pre-ordering of this. I'm going to still continue reading it. I'm going to give it a couple more issues, and maybe I'll pick up the collection if I end up liking it.
Oh, and it's, who's this guy? This Creepy Crawly.
The Creeper.
Yeah. He kind of screws things up, too, because he hits Superman with a spitball while he's being interviewed, and freaking Superman flinches.
Yes.
And then everybody's like, whoa, easy. He can't be flinching from a spitball. So he might have revealed the secret that Superman is powerless, or he's not right. He's not the Man of Steel that he was. So
I don't know how I felt about that either. I don't know. There was some stuff like there's a lot going on in this second issue. I'll just say that. Like Dan Slott is like, cutting his teeth.
Yeah, I wasn't too pleased with the toy maker or whoever this guy is at the end.
That's what it seems like. It says toy
maker. That's not a big villain to bring in with Superman the way he is here.
No, but it definitely feels like he's throwing everything in the kitchen sink. Like Dan Slott's like, hey, I've been chomping at the bit to write DC, so I'm just like throwing like the Creeper in there, the toy man. Yeah. So like, I don't know. I'm like, I almost felt like I need to reread this one because I was like, wow, I really dislike this compared to the first issue, and I just felt maybe it was just me though at that time, right? Maybe I was a few beers in deep, and I had read a few comics at that point, to be honest with you.
Maybe he doesn't know when this series is going to end. Like you say, I got some ideas. I'm going to put them all out there now, just so I can make sure I get them out there.
Just felt like a lot, and not in a good way, because like I said, I've praised the same thing with Wade on Batman or Superman World's Finest when he's just throwing a bunch of shit out there. But this time around, I don't know. I didn't like this issue compared to the first one, so I'm gonna have to reread it. But I think I'm dropping the issues for now, anyways. But anyways, what'd you give this?
I'll give it a 3.75. I did like that little twist with Superman going gold.
I gotta go 3.25. I don't know why I didn't love it. I didn't really enjoy it reading it, but like I said, I might have to give it another reread. We'll see. Batman Superman World's Finest number 40.
I just read this one online. This is just still, I think this World's Finest is, now that it's trying to move out of continuity again, they're just having some fun stories. I don't know, I guess, was it Perry White and Commissioner Gordon? They're having some sort of podcast or something, and Commissioner Gordon's worried about getting on there. Then Perry White's, don't worry, it almost looks like the podcaster is Andrew Tate. It looks like
That's what I thought, that, or it's a Rogan podcast. Like that's kind of what I got that idea too. It felt like a Joe Rogan thing, or I think maybe even more like you said, Andrew Tate, if anything. Yeah, yeah,
And then some sort of giant kaiju comes out of nowhere, and of course Clark and Bruce are there, but as their well, I guess as their civilian sort of identity, so they can't really jump into action. I did think it was funny when they were jumping into action. Batman's like, oh, I just got to pass by the cave here for a minute. It's like, what do you mean you got to jump by the cave? You know, you got this kaiju's like freaking tearing apart this studio as it is, and of course, you know, Batman's always prepared. He has his own kaiju. Where he's hiding this in his cave, I have no idea, because it's like a 200-foot giant robot. And you know, when they start taking care of business, he's okay. Superman, you know, you be on rescue duty, I'll be on offense, which doesn't seem to be a great plan, because that roar, that whatever that kaiju that's attacking, it kind of takes care of Batman's robot pretty easily. And then Superman just comes to his rescue with like one punch and sends him away. Like maybe they should have switched resources there. I think Superman can take care of this kaiju on his own, but there's some fun scenes in there, and I didn't mind it. It was an okay issue.
and yeah, basically, I guess this kid, he draws stuff and it comes to life. Essentially, that's the whole
Yeah.
thing, right? With the kaiju's, yeah, yeah, it was a fun little one-off type story here. I didn't mind it either. It was fine, and I thought the way it ended too was funny, because then Perry White and what's his name, Commissioner Gordon, are walking down the street, and they're like they're making fun of basically Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne essentially to each other, like, you know, and obviously, you know, they don't know, you know, the actual identities of these guys. So, you know, that man's scared of his own shadow, you know, compared to Kent. He's like, he basically,
Yeah.
all, you know, Bruce isn't exactly the rugged type or whatever. Yeah, they're basically just talking shit about these two, and they're kind of just smirking at each other, Batman and Superman, right? So, and it looks like next issue we get a Bizarro World, I think, start of a Bizarro World arc. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, this is fine. What'd you give this?
I'll give it a 3.75. I was just going to give it a 3.5, but the more I talked about it,
It was okay. Fun. Yeah, I agree. 3.75. Next up, we got Wonder Woman 22.
Wonder Woman 22. Oh, yeah, Daniel Sempre's got to stay on this art here. After this whole, you know, that whole arc there before, I was kind of complaining that it was too long. Maybe it should be longer. I don't know what the heck's going on in here. They're freaking fighting a mouse or something, and this is just a prelude to a whole arc of this. Eesh, I don't know. I wasn't impressed with the story. Wasn't impressed with the art. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, the artist on this one was Caitlin Yarsky.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine, but it wasn't great. That's what I'll say. It's probably my least favorite artist they've had on this book so far. So I mean, I know that sounds like I'm just shitting on it. It's I don't know. It's fine. I don't know if it's the right tone for this book though. Even in comparison to the other artists that they've had on, it's okay. But I don't know.
Yeah, there better be something special of this new arc of whatever this mice and men.
So,
and they don't want to kill the mice because the mice are just, I don't even know what happened to these. Like the mice were grown. They didn't, like, these people didn't shrink, right?
It wasn't their fault. They apparently were like, that's why she's not trying to hurt them.
Yeah.
Steve Trevor is telling her to basically beat up these mice. And also, like, I don't know, maybe this is reading into it too much. Do you think this is like some sort of, because they are talking about immigration in this issue with the Themyscira stuff. Do you think the mice are supposed to be ice?
I don't care if they are. That's crazy. It makes sense though. They like to do crazy stuff like that, and that's right. Where
I mean, this is taking place in, I don't know. I just throwing it out there. The mice ice thing kind of just occurred to me because they were talking about immigration in this issue for whatever reason. Because, well, I guess that's always been part of the story, because that whole thing at the start with the president and the Themyscira thing. was part of the story, I guess, here. But this is more so focused, though, on still the relationship between Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman. And I guess this is some past occurrence after they first hooked up for the first time, where she's fighting mice at the at the Parliament. So I don't know what's going on here. It's very strange.
Yeah,
And,
maybe too many metaphors for me, and they're all over my head. And I don't know if they're talking about rats in the government or corruption. Who knows?
There has to be something like that going on here, because it's too silly of a story for him not to be kind of commenting on something here, right? Like,
audience. That's all I got to say. If he's going to be trying to spew whatever he wants to spew there.
Is like political kind of stuff.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. I'm not
comic.
I know it's true. I'm not so interested in that either here, especially in this Wonder Woman comic, right? But I mean, yeah, the art's not great in certain places, I will say. Some of the faces aren't great, so I don't know. Yeah, I guess we'll see though. I mean, the mice are taking over here, it seems.
Yeah, I guess almost like they're trying to make a Kite Man type of character out of this mouse person,
which is also a Tom King thing. And he put Kite Man. That was his idea to put him in Batman. So
yeah, they should just put Kite Man here. At least Kite Man's popular.
The thing is, like, I've seen him even though do funnier stuff than this. This wasn't even that funny. Like, it was like a little tongue in cheek, maybe. Like, and like I said, that's why I feel like this is more a tongue in cheek kind of commentary on some sort of political kind of thing, right? So maybe, but if you're like you said, if that is the case, it's slightly going over my head as well, and I don't care to read political shit like that in the Wonder Woman comic, right? So I don't know. What'd you give this?
Yeah, it's 3.25.
Yeah, I think so. Next up, we got Exquisite Corpses #2.
I'm not sure if I read the first one of this. I might have just kind of jumped to this on the second issue. But this, I remember reading this. This is something that I think is like it's like a Netflix. I don't know what to call it, like a proof copy or something, or the test run.
It's a pitch.
Yeah, it's a Netflix pitch right there in the story. Because like it's like a sort of bit of intrigue with all these characters, but you don't know who these characters are. If this was like a long running series and stuff was going on, I think it'd have a bit more impact. But everybody's already sort of backstabbing each other, and and then you kind of just go into this town where these people don't have no idea what's happening. I think it's an interesting story, and if I was a Netflix executive, I think I'd be interested in this pitch here for sure. But as for a comic, I don't know.
I liked it. I didn't like it as much as the first issue, but the first issue was oversized and it basically introduced all these different players that were kind of playing for the families, the rich and powerful kind of people that are kind of behind the scenes here that have bet money on these people, or some people have bet, some people haven't. You learned in this issue, and really the winner of this just wants power, I guess, over basically making all the decisions, like an Illuminati type of shit going on here with the rich and powerful, the 1% behind the scenes. And, you see one of the psychos like carve somebody up in this, but then he basically gets taken out by another one of the players, which seemed to happen. It seems like every issue, because it's a 12-issue series, one of these players will get taken out, it seems like. And you've seen a lot of the other people, like this guy who basically acts like a paramedic or something like that, or like he's another one of the players, and like Nurse Pete, he's a nurse, sorry. And then you basically there's a kid killer player as well that basically attaches himself to characters that you met in the first issue that's trick-or-treating with them. So they're basically just lining everything up. And all of these people are all kind of like racing towards taking out these other players, it seems like, in this issue. And they're attaching themselves to other people, or they're basically trying to find rides to get where they're trying to go in this issue.
Yeah.
So, so it's really just moving the story forward in that sense. But I think it's a really cool concept and a fun idea. But I agree with you in the sense that some of the execution isn't great, I think, of this. Like, it's hard to really see this play out, and to your point, I think it would be better almost as a as like a series like on Netflix or something like that. So I think it, I think it still shows a lot of promise though. I think the first issue was really well done, and I'm on board for the ride, but I guess we'll see kind of how this story progresses at this point. I'm in honestly for the duration, but I just James Tynion's really good, and Michael Walsh is doing some of the art. And in this issue, it looks like they're starting to bring in, I guess, different artists on each of the issues as well. There's another artist that joined them as well on this, who I'm not familiar with, this Mariana Ignazi, but it looks like Michael Walsh does a bunch of the pages as well. So yeah, not bad. But it basically, yeah, that's kind of what happens in this issue. Somebody gets taken out and people are all speeding towards, like, I guess, finding each other and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like you can almost see the blueprint for each issue coming up, and hopefully there's some twists along the way.
Yeah, it is a fun idea though. I think the concept I think is greater than the story so far. I will say, like at the back of the issue though, it shows you like the checklist and like the tiers essentially of like how like a couple of people have been taken out. Like they have a bracket going on and stuff. So it's kind of fun. Like and they're touring around, like they're doing signings at stores and stuff like that. They're giving away like playing cards of the different killers and stuff like that. So it's a fun idea. I think it's kind of really neat that they're kind of the promotion, let's say, even of this series, I think, between Tynan and Michael Walsh. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. What'd you give this?
I'll give it 3.5.
I'll go 3.75 out of 5. Next up, we got G.I. Joe number 8.
Where's my G.I. Joe? There we go. And he's got the regular cover.
Joe.
Look at this issue, basically based on Baroness and as a cover girl. They're kind of playing some war games in the beginning. It's almost like their own sort of danger room, and I guess kind of Joe versus Joe, and so that's kind of fun to watch. And the Baroness complains about not being, being sort of a prisoner still, not being free. And then kind of talks to Duke, you either trust me or don't. So I guess he lets her take a weekend off, but then sends cover girl with her to kind of keep tabs on her. And it was kind of fun. Like, I didn't mind the relationship between cover girl and Baroness when they were chit chatting about whatever they do, and then Baroness tries to escape, and then you think Baroness is kind of just went sitting at the cafe, and then out of nowhere cover girl shows up, and they kind of go do what's going on. So that wasn't too bad, but I think still the good stuff is with Clutch. I think Clutch has an Autobot with him, and he's still trying to keep this under wraps. So it was a good story, but I think the big sort of takeaway from this issue would be, having the Transformers and G.I. Joe sort of intersect here. And now it's not just, it's not them watching it on a screen. Clutch is actually, communicating, or teaming up with the Transformer, but he's still keeping it under wraps. So that's what I want to see how that plays out.
Also, Raptor shows up here at the end and basically attacks Baroness and Cover Girl when they're in France there. And I guess before she was going to talk to her parents, I guess. So Baroness there. Yeah, between the action, the Transformer stuff, and just like where we're at in the story and how it's been progressing, and as well as these little bit more down to earth moments and a little bit of time even for characters to talk to one another like they did in this issue, because like the first arc was all action. And at this point, they're basically trying to like train up for the next round of whatever's about to go down, because they got their asses whooped in that first arc, the G.I. Joe guys, right? So like I'm liking where the series is at right now. I think this is probably, if not my favorite issue, one of the stronger issues so far in the series. I actually thought this was a great issue, and I'm really looking forward to see what happens next now. I think after that first arc, they're really going in an interesting direction here with this series, and it might overtake it as my favorite Energon universe series soon, honestly, because it's kind of been going back and forth between which one I'm really digging in at the moment, like the most. This has been really good the last couple of issues, I gotta say. It's getting really good after this first arc, G.I. Joe. So good stuff. What'd you give this?
Yeah, I'm giving this 3.75.
I'm gonna go 4 on that one. Actually, I really liked this issue. 4 out of 5. Phantom Road number 13.
Yeah, I've just been reading this one online. This is still another kind of wacky, I don't want to say crazy story, but it takes a bit of time just to figure out where they are from issue to issue. I think, once again, I think this was something that you need to read as a trade, where they got the 6 or 8 issues all together. Because where they just jump in here, I kind of forgot what was happening. But once you read into it a bit and you kind of figure out what's going on, I think that agent, he's there with his helper, and his helper kind of got stuck in the I don't know if you want to call it the Phantom Zone, the place in between places, and he's kind of freaking out what's happening in there. And he's got that egg, and this egg seems to be something that's important to both worlds. Yeah. And then you got the other agent. He's in I guess in the real world in the past, and there's some sort of government. I don't even know if it's a government agent, but there's some sort of other team that wants this egg, and you don't know if they're on the level. This guy's telling the agent here, we gotta get control of that egg. We need to do it to save the world. I can't talk to you about it right now. But then, of course, the police show up, so that scares away the other bad guy that you don't know is a bad guy, or you don't know if he is a bad guy, or he could be telling the truth. But then at sunrise, sort of the worlds kind of, intersect, and the agent's partner kind of comes back to the real world, and he's got the egg with him. And then you talk about I don't even know what that guy's name is, but the darker, I don't know, the kind of the shadowy type figure basically has kidnapped his daughter to try and get that backpacker egg. It's an egg or something. I don't know what it is, but it's still interesting stuff. And once I start reading it, I get into it pretty quickly.
Yeah, honestly, not too much to add to what you said there. Still really interesting, keeps you guessing. You never know what to expect in this story, but seeing it unfold, always a lot of fun, and it keeps me guessing, like I said. But it's like great action, great kind of mystery stuff going on here, like weird sci-fi kind of, I guess you can say, stuff happening. And I really just need to know what's gonna happen here, how this is gonna play out. I think this arc has been specifically about this past storyline, and then we're going to probably jump to the future current day storyline, which we were in the first 10 issues of this series. Probably better informed by the end of this arc, I'm pretty sure. And then I'm thinking that will probably be heading towards the wrap up of whatever this story has been. Yeah. So overall, I think it's a great series, though. And it's this arc in particular, after being away for a while, has been great. So yeah. What'd you give this?
I give it a 4.
Same, 4 out of 5. Good stuff. Next up, we got Invincible Universe Battle Beast number 2. I like the feel of these issues too. It kind of has a different feeling to it. The way it's almost like the cardstock cover kind of material.
Yeah, it even feels a bit stronger than a cardstock cover. I almost didn't want to. I ended up reading this online because I didn't want to crack it open too wide.
No, it's really nice. I know it's weird to say that, guys, but it honestly, if you felt this comic, it's like whatever the paper.
Yeah, like if you board it, but I don't think you need to board this comic if you didn't want to.
No, it's really nice. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. What'd you think?
Well, this Battle Beast story, it's moving along. It's growing. His cast of characters seem to be increasing. You have that robot head there. That's, I guess, a leftover from the last issue. He's kind of just crawling around in the corner. And then his ship, which seems to be a character, has decided he's going to try and starve the Battle Beast. He just wants to kill him. And then the Battle Beast basically tells him, look, starving is not going to be, that's not going to be a plan of attack for you. I like eating food, but I've been hungry for a long time, so don't worry about that. And then whatever that head comes up with an idea, he goes, look, I know of a battle, I guess, for you, but it's back on my home world. It's just that person you faced. It's his sister. It's the Juggernaut. So, of course, the Battle Beast is okay. We'll try that out. And then he goes, oh, but one thing, I can't go back to my home planet looking like this. They go to some outpost world. And then to get this body, he needs to go fight in some I don't
Tournament.
know, yeah, some gladiator type tournament. And he just freaking kicks the crap out of everybody in there. And then you get to the final boss,
Yeah.
and it seems to be a substantial foe, let's say, and he just wipes the freaking floor with them. And it turns out there's some guy that was trapped inside, and he frees him, and then the people kind of come out and go, oh, stop, stop, he's just saved this guy. So he lets him out, he gets his body, and then that green head's almost telling us, hey, look, hey, things weren't too bad. Look, you got to help some people, you got to kill some things, everything's working out for you. You're not a bad guy. He's like, oh. So it kind of gives me a bit of the Geiger type feels with that Tariq character that,
Yeah.
he doesn't want to get stuck with anything. And, it seems like he's going to end up with some freaking ragtag crew of people he doesn't want to be with
Yeah.
that are sort of helping him, and he might find his heart. I don't know. I hope not, but that's the way they look like they want to be pushing the story, at least.
I mean, this story is so ridiculous, like just a ridiculous excuse to write like this story, but of this character. But it works. It's just fun seeing him go and like here's the thing. It works because Ryan Otley is drawing this series.
Yeah, for sure.
It wouldn't work without him. But is just such a ridiculous, like this. He's literally just going place to place in these adventures that he's having, fighting people, and it's super fun. Like I just like, yeah, and like the fact that that character is with him now, and annoyingly so, and also the fact that the ship is trying to outsmart him because it hates him. That's the other part that I don't know if you mentioned there. The ship just hates him, and he keeps trying to like get him killed. It's just really fun. It's just a fun, dumb, stupid like book where he's basically just going and fighting all these people, and his whole goal is just to fight somebody so strong that he gets killed. Which is,
yeah, I think that's the one funny part of the story is that he wants to kill himself, or the ship wants to kill him, and he's like, great, I want to find someone that can kill me, so we're on the same page.
Yeah,
somehow.
There's like people like inside of people though. Like it's just like so weird. Like this is the second time now. There's the other guy, and then another guy that's like basically like his like I don't know, like sidekick now. He's got like a robot body at the end. It's just so stupid. I don't know, man. I'm having a lot of fun with this. It's really fun. So yeah, I'm enjoying this. But again, it's just a treat to see Ryan Otley playing in this universe again. I think his art's just perfect for this story. So
yeah.
What'd you give this?
I'll give it a 4. I liked it.
Yeah, same. 4 out of 5. All right, the Ultimates 13, Chris.
Ultimates 13. I was hoping this could be a turning point for the series. I kind of think back, and there's some good issues. That stuff with the Hulk there. Okay, we're getting somewhere, and then after that, just things went south. And like I say, okay, 3.0, we're going at it, and I don't know what the heck was going on in this story. It seems like there's like freaking 10 different versions of Iron Lad out there, and he's trying to, get the band back together, but it's just in a crazy way. And even this stuff with Wasp there, knowing that she's like some sort of double agent. Yeesh, I don't know. This was on the block here. I don't think I've been ordering it in my solicitations for the last couple of months, and this didn't really change my mind to get back in there.
Completely agree. I think I might give this another issue, and I might be reading it digitally only after. I don't know where this second arc of this series
I know where it lost its way. It was good in the beginning, though.
But like we've had a string of subpar issues now, not just 1 or 2, which we were like, okay, I hope the next one's better. Now we've had like at least like 4 issues in a row where I'm just like, this isn't that good anymore. And like, not only that, like you said, like that part, I do like the idea by the end of like all these different clones of him or whatever, but I felt like the explanation wasn't good. And then also like, it felt like a crazy idea that they would have had earlier on in the series that they've had, but just the execution just wasn't as good, and like the story just wasn't good leading up to that. So even when you got that moment, I was unsatisfied by it because I'm like, well, yeah, okay, that's cool, I guess, but this whole rest of the issue sucked. So
Yeah.
I don't know what we're doing here. Like it seems like, I don't know. It just seems like he's really, the wheels have come off here. This second half of the series, like ever since I would honestly say, like, ever since they established that whole idea that they have like a year left or whatever, however long it was, it's not been as good. I don't know. I might give it another issue, and I'm also gonna drop it. It's disappointing to say because I would continue to like reading this and Spider-Man and Wolverine. Even, like, I know we've had some problems with that too, but even that has been, I feel like, better
Well,
than
I've been
this.
enjoying that more than this. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
same. But it's just like that, like, probably the first collection, the first trade worth of material, because this is issue 13 now. So we're going on the
Yeah.
second trade. That whole second trade, most of it's not that good.
Yeah. Most of it's trash.
So now we're kind of going into a third arc right now with issue 13, and it's starting off not that great as well. So I don't know. I might give it another issue. I'm really worried about dropping this one though. Honestly, I mean, I'm not worried. That's why I'm going to drop it, because it hasn't been good. But it's just like, usually when you're in a series this far in, it's not sucking this bad all of a sudden, and you'll stay with it. This is like, might be an exception for me. So
Yeah.
what'd you give this, Chris?
Yeah. 3.5.
I mean, I would go even 3.25,
I
honestly.
wouldn't. I wouldn't argue that.
Yeah. So, anyways. All right. Last but not least, we got
Well,
Amazing
before we
Spider.
go last, I just remembered the one that I read
Sure.
this week here. It is the Vatican City 3.
Oh,
I don't know
yes.
if you've been
Shit.
reading any of that.
I did. I read the last issue. I missed this one, though. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. I didn't even pull the art for this one. What'd you think?
Yeah, I think this is the end of the series. I think it was just a 3-issue series or a 3-issue run, I guess. And I think we had the humans there. They had the vampire queen, and they were using that to lever or to blackmail the vampires so they could get a plane and, I don't know, fly out somewhere safe. And as they were kind of, getting whatever, all the humans that were left to the plane, there's some unruly vampires that were kind of threatening them, and they kind of threatened to blow up the queen. And I think the truck runs over a bump, and it sets off the detonator, and it ends up blowing up the vampire queen. So the freaking truck blows up, all their leverage is gone. And I thought that was a shock to me just reading that. Like, I didn't see that coming. Out of, like, and it happens sort of mid issue too. It's not like something that just happens right away. So I'm like, whoa, what's going to happen now? So now these vampires are all enraged, and there's nothing holding them back anymore. They're trying to attack all these people, so they get to wipe out a bunch of humans. Then whoever the lead character is with, he's with a couple of kids there. So he's driving a Jeep, and he's freaking, or whatever, driving a truck, and he kind of hightails it to the nearest church. And then, then they kind of make it into the church and got all the vampires outside. He goes, look, we're just going to freaking pile this stuff. We're going to burn this church to the ground. And, they go, oh, let's go to the vaults in the basement. And they go down to the vaults, and he was like, fuck, what are we going to do? There's no way we can wait these people out or these vampires out. And then the kids there, okay, well, why don't we just pray? I'm like, are you freaking serious? Is this how it's going to end? And then, the guy's like, oh, whatever, I'll go fucking pray. So while he's praying, you can see what's happening in the outside world. It looks like freaking some stars coming down. And then all the vampires look up at this thing, and they're like, oh, no, this can't be. And then freaking everything gets wiped out. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? But then you find out, then there's a page later, it goes into some base in China and Russia are talking to each other because they have been untouched by this. They're still, I guess, a clean zone.
Right.
So what they did is they nuked all of America. They nuked all of the West, and they blew it up. So now it's like a nuclear wasteland there.
Right.
And and then you kind of have them talking amongst each other. It goes, is it right what we did? And and they're like, we killed like 100 million people there. And they go, well, you saved the rest of the world doing this. So. And then the hero and the kid, he opens up the vault, and now they're stuck in some sort of wasteland trying to get to wherever they're going. And now, you never know what kind of vampires might have survived those nuclear bombs. So I thought it was a good end to the story,
Yeah,
something totally unexpected. And another winner for Mark Miller.
yeah, 3
I,
issues
yeah,
isn't bad either.
I give that a 4, though. But once that vampire queen blew up, I thought, okay, maybe with that vampire queen blows up, all the zombies will die or something. Like, that's a monkey wrench into the story I didn't see coming.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds good. I'll have to go back and check that out. That sounds really good. I didn't know it was gonna be 3 issues this one though, so that's cool
I
too.
think
Yeah,
this is a fourth. I'll see. But I thought it was. I thought I read it was just for 3
it
issues.
sounds like the end. Yeah. I mean, all right. So there you go. Vatican City number 3, and then finally we got Amazing Spider-Man number 6.
Yeah, I got a J.R. Miller cover, or I mean, that's J.R. cover with. Like, could they not have freaking? This guy does enough covers already on his own. I guess there was some variant covers, but
Yeah, I didn't like any of them though,
yeah,
really.
I didn't like any of them either.
Yeah. So, anyways,
And, for Spider-Man, I can say I didn't hate the story. It's a bit of a departure of the Peter Parker we sort of know there. Like, once again, I think this is getting more into the soap opera part of Peter's life.
yes.
He's there with Shay, and then I guess Shay reveals to him that she's going on dates. And then he goes, and then he's like, "Well, what do you mean you go on a date? Well, we're not exclusive. We can still see other people, Of course, in real life when that happens, of course the black cat freaking drops into your lap after that's been said, and wants to basically go at it while you're on a stakeout, which is fine for Peter Parker. I thought they're trying to reset this guy and not turn him into a horny teenager, but I guess here we are. And that's pretty much the takeaway I got out of this story. I didn't know what the hell was going on there. I think they're staking out some people from the Hobgoblin, and the stuff I did seem to enjoy. Hard to say is taken out of the Zeb Wells run is with Tombstone showing up in there. I've never thought I'd be happy to see Tombstone in a story, but here we are.
I absolutely love this issue. I think all of a sudden, like you said, and I think that's what was really good about this, he kind of taps into the ongoing soap opera-ness of Spider-Man in this issue. And outside of the first 5 issues, they really gave me a sense of like, he's kind of pulling on some of the really good stuff we enjoyed from the Zeb Wells run, like the Black Cat stuff, like the Tombstone thing. Like there's some good stuff that like kind of came back up in this. And this was kind of just like, let's see a day in the life of Peter and how and like you said, some things like that have now changed for him, the way that he's acting, like how he's like, things are actually really good in my life right now. You might think that's weird because there's a bunch of bad stuff going on. But like, I really thought this was like a breath of fresh air. Like, let's check in on things. Let's have the Black Cat tease him with making out, because he's like somebody who's not in a like monogamous relationship, which is also weird for Peter Parker. So like that, there was things in here where I'm like, these are new things that he's creating for Peter Parker, while also referencing the past. Like there's new layered stuff coming in here, and the great soap opera kind of moments that we get of this guy's ongoing life and all the trials and tribulations of it. There's like, we didn't spend like more than a couple of pages with all of these people he was touching base with in this. Like he's going to see Norman Osborn. He's going to see his work. He's going to see the girlfriend. Yeah. He's going to see Black Cat. His Tombstone rolls up. He's like, "Hey, you in with the mob?" Like that guy is friend. He's like, "What's going on here?" Right? Like, I thought this was like a return to form. I thought this is very unexpected at the end of that first arc, where we kind of weren't sure where we stood with it, but it got better somewhat over time. I thought this was excellent, this issue. Yeah, honestly, the more I talk about it, the more I enjoyed it. I was really surprised by this one, honestly. Yeah. So, you know what? Right issue to bring. I mean, other than maybe if you're looking for a much cheesecake or a Black Cat, I thought JR was okay in this. I'm not gonna lie. I thought he was fine in this issue. I think it was it's not the best when he does all the talking head stuff. I agree with that, but I thought this was okay. Like, you seeing the Tombstone stuff, and it felt like the Zeb Wells run again in a way. So I was okay with that.
What was Ed McGuinness busy? What's Patrick Gleason doing? Come on, guys.
Listen, when this guy
What's the
shows up
bone here?
again, this makes sense that you would have put JR on this when this like dude shows up with the sword.
Yeah, that's the guy you created. Oh, ooh, a Space Knight.
Hellgate.
But otherwise, like I say, I didn't hate it, and that's a great compliment for the Amazing Spider-Man run right now. I give it a 3.75.
4.25. Loved it.
Holy moly! Easy,
Loved
man.
every moment of it. All right. We ran long because there was a lot of books this week, so I won't go into full comic book news, but I will mention check out our solicitation video because there is new comics coming out from DC, Marvel, crossovers between the characters. I think we may have talked about it previously, but there's like a Deadpool Batman, and there's been more recent announcements of crossovers. So make sure to check that video out. We'll be talking about it a bit more in that.
I got a couple tidbits too there for you.
Sure.
I hear Sean Murphy's working on Lobo for the new Lobo movie that's coming out. I guess he's doing something there. So
I mean, that's
rumors. I don't know.
That's awesome if it's true. That just
I hope it's true too.
Seems like a weird move for Sean Murphy, though. Honestly, I don't know if that's true or not, but we'll see.
That's what I hear, and I hear the Ultimates is only in for 2 years, and that's it.
This Ultimate series.
Yeah.
All of them, or just this one?
They're going to end at 24.
All the Ultimate series.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Spider-Man and the Ultimate.
Everything.
Who's your source?
Well, you look it up.
Bleeding Cool News? Get the fuck out.
Just put it out there. That's the news. That's what I hear.
The Ultimates, they've always been saying the 2-year thing for like whatever's going to happen at the end of that. But if they're going to kill Spider-Man off, that's a stupid idea.
Or maybe they're going to reboot it after 2 years again.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I could see that because Ultimates has been leading up to the 2-year mark for like the whole thing with the Maker, right?
No.
Well, the Lobo thing is interesting if that's true. If it's true, I think that's very interesting. I'll be, I guess we'll see. Who's your source? Rob Liefeld?
I was talking to him the other day.
I'm going to bring Lobo in for the blocky character.
You noticed I was watching all his podcasts and he contacted me. He goes, "You're the guy that's watching, right?" Like, "Hey, sorry, Rob, I only listen to fall asleep. I only hear about the first 5 minutes. I don't know what goes on the rest, but it plays all the way to the end."
Oh, you guys are comic shop tacos, talking crap. All right, anyways. That's my shitty Rob Liefeld doing a shitty Todd McFarlane impersonation. There it is. What are you reading next week, Chris?
Oh, shit. Hold on. Put this up here. I think there's an Amazing Spider-Man or Ultimate Spider-Man coming out next week. Is there?
Yeah.
Oof, where is it? Let's see. So for Marvel, Ultimate Spider-Man 18. I'll probably read Fantastic 433. I'll try and read the Hulk, but who knows? Probably not. Predator versus Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man Wolverine 2. Ooh, that might be it for Marvel. There might be some other Joker stuff in there, but even still, just looking at there wasn't too much. For DC, Batman 161, Absolute Wonder Woman 9, Superman 27. I'll probably read this new History of DC Universe. I don't know what that's about. And I haven't been reading any of that Peacemaker stuff, so we'll leave that at it. Void Rivals, Hyde Street.
Oh, yeah.
Seasons.
Yeah.
Ultra Mega. And that might be it. And I don't know if Dark Horse has any Miller stuff coming out or not.
Yeah, Huck, Big Bad World #2.
Yeah, so I'll probably try and read that. That's it. How about you, Gary?
Yeah, I'll be shooting on location for the next episode, so we'll see how many actually I get in, but I will be recording, so stay tuned for that. From somewhere else, but yeah, what do I got here? I got Absolute Wonder Woman 9, Batman 161, Harley Quinn 52. No, I don't even talk about that book on the show anymore. Never mind. I just buy it now. It's nothing new to report unless there is. Justice League Unlimited 8, New History of the DC Universe 1, Spider-Man Wolverine. No, Yeah, number 2 comes out. Yeah, Spider-Man Wolverine. Number 2, Ultimate Spider-Man 18, Void Rivals 20. And then that stuff I'm picking up. Things I'm reading digitally, Huck Big Bad World number 2. Maybe Absolute Martian Manhunter, depending if I can get it in. Superman 27. Okay, and then just looking at seasons. You said the last Ultra Mega comes out? Yeah,
I thought it was Ultra Mega there.
I'll be talking about that. Yeah, that's here. I guess I'm getting that too. I didn't realize. Oh, We're Taking Everyone Down With Us comes out, so I might talk about that.
I gotta catch up on that.
That was good. You should.
Yeah.
It's really good. I'm liking that series. I think you just missed out on the last issue, honestly. I think it's just the last one you missed, number 3. So number 4 comes out this week too. And then Marvel, I don't know if there's anything digitally here. Fantastic Four. I think that might be it. Oh, Predator versus Spider. You're going to be reading Predator versus Spider-Man? Yeah, so I might read that too. Yeah, I think that's about it, though. I don't know about Thing 2. I didn't really love the first issue. Maybe. But with a week like this, if I'm on vacation, maybe not. I think that's about it, though. Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. All right, Chris. Your favorite book of the week. That's for the week of 20. Those were books that we're looking forward to read on the week of June 25th, by the way, next week.
Yeah, I don't have to give it to Alien versus Avengers.
Yeah. Yep. Same. Yeah. Honestly, they're kind of an inconsistent week. There was a bunch of books I didn't like, and then there was a bunch of books I liked, but it was a big week. So, I guess highlights, though, other highlights, Amazing Spider-Man, like I said, I thought was really good. G.I. Joe, I thought was really good. Otherwise, yeah, not too much of a standout here, honestly. Yeah. So I got to give it to Aliens versus Avengers. All the Image books were really good, though. Phantom Road, Battle Beast, they were all good. I mean, I would say all of those were decent. So, but yeah, I got to go with Aliens versus Avengers almost by default, just because I don't think anything else tested it in terms of like stepping up to the occasion. But otherwise, yeah, some mixed types of ratings on books this week. So there you go. All right, that's gonna do it for this week, guys. We'll see you guys next week, as always, for another episode of Comic Shop Talk. And yeah, we'll see you then. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Chris.
All right, thank you.